Moir. How you doing, Monty?
Good. How are you doing, Joe? Thanks for
Uh,
having me on.
yeah, great to talk to you. I mean, this could be double-digit appearances on the show, but the first on video that we done. Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for having me.
yeah. So the last time we spoke was around the pandemic, and maybe during the pandemic a bit. But how have you been keeping busy and music-wise and otherwise?
I've been doing well. A couple years ago, I left the band. I'm not
Right.
touring with them anymore, but I've been real happy. I've been just writing and producing a lot, and getting back to doing what I really love doing.
Now, when you've been an original member of the time you left to do some production work with Flight Time, and then you were back for several years. What goes into the decision? You're like, I want to go in another direction and stay off the road.
Uh, Number of things. I just got tired of the road every weekend. That was part of it. And,
Right.
just the same thing. I mean, I'm just eternally grateful for it, and I still love the guys, and still speak and get along well.
Yep.
I just decided that I wanted there was things I wanted to do musically, and that it was just harder to do with traveling more, and I really there was a time in the '80s when I had a studio down at Creation Audio with Steve Weiss ran the building down there, and
Hmm.
I did a bunch of just production, and it was I just loved it. I mean, I just loved the having my own schedule and being able to just do my own thing, and not have to work around other things. So I'm happy with my decision, and I'm digging into some projects, and I'm loving it, and
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah. You still got a lot of music to put out. That's for sure.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was gonna. That was one of the questions I was gonna ask you later on, but I'll ask it now. Do you have a preference on as a performer or as a producer and songwriter? Do you have one or the other?
Um, Honestly, it's probably more songwriting, producing.
Hmm.
I've just always gravitated towards that. Um, yeah, that would be more my wheelhouse, as they might say.
Right.
But I
How
mean,
about
I
the?
love performing. It
Yeah.
was it was great. It was just
Yeah.
a lot of fun, and I know you've come to a lot of the shows, you and G, and it's
Oh
just
yeah.
it's been it's just great. I mean,
Yeah. It's funny. We moved out of Connecticut to upstate New York here, and I was talking to Tori, and I told him we moved up here. He goes, "Oh, are you far from Albany?" I said, "It's like 20 minutes south." He goes, "Oh, we were there last weekend." I had no
well,
idea. I'm like, "Oh, geez, the chance I'm
well,
going to see him around here, maybe
yeah,
once
right,
every couple of years." Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What was the last gig that you played officially with the time?
I don't remember the gig exactly, but I remember it was around Thanksgiving,
Hmm.
right before COVID hit.
Oh, okay.
I
Right.
didn't realize COVID was coming.
Hmm.
I just knew when we had a break. There was about a 6 week break, and I don't think there was a gig till New Year's or something. And I thought, well, this is probably a good time. They can have some time to find somebody, and they did. And
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, I can't remember the gig exactly.
And you did the Prince tribute, right?
Yeah,
The Grammy. Yeah.
that was in 2022, I think.
Right. Right.
There was a couple tributes. We did the Grammy tribute. We were on the Grammys, and then Bruno Mars came on right after us, and then we did that was at the Grammys, and then there was another one where we did on CBS the Grammy thing where Sheila E. was the host, and
Right. Right.
a whole bunch of people,
Yeah.
Dave
That many
Grohl,
up.
all
Who was
kinds
that?
of Dave Grohl, and a whole bunch of
Oh, yeah. Right.
uh,
Yeah.
Susanna Hoffs, and man, you name it. That was pretty fun. That was fun.
Yeah. You've made your mark along with your friends, the Minneapolis sound. They can't take that away from you and your buddies. Just incredible.
Oh, thanks. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had a good run, and it's been just feeling blessed to have had all these opportunities.
Right. Now let's go back a little bit for I know we've talked about it before, radio, but for the viewers, Your introduction to music and getting the passion for music, how did that start? And we'll get into some of the music that you were digging in those 60s and 70s.
How far are we going back?
We when you first remember listening to the AM radio.
Yeah, I growing up, there was always music in the house in one way or another. My dad played trumpet, trombone. My mom sang in the choir and played a little piano. And I had some neighborhood buddies, and we started a band about seventh grade and played
Mhm.
some of the pop stuff of the day. And I kind of was hooked. I was playing guitar at that time. That was what I started on really, and we played for a couple years, and I eventually got into playing a little piano and keyboards, and was in a couple bands in college. And before then I got into Flight Time,
Mm.
which was the local version of what became the Time eventually.
Who was in that early version of Flight Time?
When I was there, it was Terry Lewis, Jelly Bean, uh, Jimmy Anderson played sax. David Island was in and out a little bit, sax
Mhm.
player. Who else was there? Tony Johnson played guitar. Solly Hughes played guitar. I mean, the people were coming in and out a little bit. Cynthia Johnson was singing of Lip Sync when I
Right.
first got in there. She wasn't there long because Funky Town had just come out, so she went to do that. But then Sue Ann Carwell came in for a while.
Right.
Great singer. She has sung on everybody. Well, Cynthia's a great singer too. They're all.
Mhm.
But Sue Ann has sung on probably every record you can imagine, from Celine Dion to boy, I don't know, you name it. She's she's there.
Right. Yeah.
And Alexander O'Neill was the last one before the band split up in Flight Time. So we've had some great singers in that band.
Yeah. So Prince getting together with putting the different pieces of the puzzle together to form the Time. How did that process go as far as being selected for that, and why did some other people get left out of the mix? And how exactly how did that happen?
That was mostly Morris's decision. It's back to the old story where Morris had written "Party Up" or a piece of "Party Up" for Prince, and
Hmm.
or Prince liked it, and he wanted to use it, and he said, "I'll either give you some money or I'll help you start a band." And so Morris obviously chose the band, and
Right.
uh, he just started deciding who. I suppose Prince had some input too, but
Hmm.
so it was me, Terry, and initially it was me, Terry, Alex. Morris was going to play drums, and Jimmy, and how did that go? I forget how that went.
That's all
At some
right.
point, Morris got brought up front to be. Oh, I know. I should know this. Too many years, Joe.
I know. I know. I never had notes when I did interviews. Just the last few years, I got some notes.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but Alex was going to be the singer originally, Alexander O'Neill,
Right.
and then that didn't work out. And then Prince said, "Well, Alex or Morris, you're going to be the front man." And he did. He's like, "I'm not a front singer," and he's, "Well, we'll figure it out, you know."
Right.
And they did. And so then Bean became the drummer, and uh, Johnson had just moved up from Rock Island, Illinois, and he was playing in another band, and Morris grabbed him, and off we ran.
Yeah, it was probably a good decision for Morris. I mean, "Party Up" wasn't even a single, right? It was just an
I
album
don't think
cut.
so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
So yeah,
I know he
made a
played it.
great. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I said no. Prince played it on Saturday Night Live one time, like, early
Yeah,
on.
that's right. Yeah, the Charlene Tilton, I think, was hosting. Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
In those early rehearsals with, I know Prince was involved, you know, he was the boss of the organization. Was he heavily involved with every part? He didn't like something, he'd go up and tell you, "I don't like that, do it this way or try it this way."
Everything. Yeah,
Oh, okay. He was, yeah.
everything with everybody, top to bottom.
Wow.
You know, it was his baby at the end of the day, you know, and uh, yeah, we rehearsed, I don't know, 5, 6 hours, 6 days a week probably, and for months and months, you know, it's all we did. I mean, we did that first tour was a 30-minute. I think we played 30 minutes. I
Mhm.
don't know how many months we rehearsed that 30 minutes. It was, you know, but every week we'd add something else. We'd add a couple of steps or another part, or you know, like Jimmy tells a story that, and I think it applied to all of us in some way or another. Uh, he was playing his story. I guess I could tell my story, but it was his stories. You know, you're playing one part with your left hand, and Prince is saying, "What are you doing with your right hand?" Well, nothing, because there's not a part to play. Well, let's figure one out. Why aren't you dancing? Why aren't you moving? What's the harmony part you got? You know, next thing you know, you're stepping and you're playing left hand, you know, different parts, singing different part, and you know, and everybody had their own version of that. All of us,
Right.
you know. So he pushed us beyond to do things beyond we thought we could do, and you know, he demanded a lot of us, but it's nothing he wouldn't demand of himself,
Right.
and it paid
Yeah.
off. The guy was never seen anybody work like Prince did. It was just amazing in that
What's
regard.
what are some of the things you miss most about Prince?
Ah, he was funny. He could be hilarious. Um, I miss being around, you know, his energy. He had this can-do attitude. It was just like, here's what we're gonna do,
Mhm.
and it would start happening. I mean, he had just work ethic and a visionary and a confidence, and you know, it's just let's go. And it was just amazing, and it was really inspiring just to see, wow, you can do these things.
Yeah.
This is possible.
And he kind of laid the template for inspiration for the rest of the musicians to have success themselves, I guess.
Yeah, you know, when we first started with him. He said, He said I had to bump my head a whole bunch of times to figure out what to do and what not to do. And I think he was this was after the Dirty Mind record, uh, when we started, and he said, I'm gonna show you what to do and what not to do. You know, you can get there a lot faster because I already know a lot of what not to do."
Right.
So he really helped a lot to get us where we were going a lot quicker, I think.
Of the tours that you did, full-fledged tours with Prince, do you have a favorite one?
Uh, well, I think the second one was I just because we were more. I mean, the first one, everything was so new. You know, it was uh, just everything was new. We were playing.
Right.
We started out in theaters. And then next thing you know, we're playing, you know, basketball arenas, and it was just the excitement of it. But I think, you know, that the excitement of it was fun. But then by the second tour, though, we kind of everybody kind of got their groove a little more as far as what to expect and how we can all contribute to make the shows better. And yeah, just
Yeah.
those whole we did 2 tours with him, the Controversy in 1999 and Out Forever, you know, just months on end with him. But it was, I mean, it was fantastic. We were playing 5, 6 nights a week, probably, you know, hop on the
Yeah.
bus.
Yep.
Next night we're somewhere else. Next night we're somewhere else.
Okay, I'm gonna see how sharp your memory is. I mean, you could
Oh,
that tour, it was the first time I actually saw you and The Time and Prince and Vanity 6. Hartford Civic Center, that massive snowstorm. Do you remember that? I talked to Matt Fink, he remembered that one, but
vaguely, yeah.
yeah, vaguely. Yeah,
I don't know
that
if
was
I
the one, yeah.
see that
I always joke I kidnapped my girlfriend at the time because her mom didn't want us to go, and I was insistent, "We're going."
going
So,
because of the weather or because of the
oh,
show.
yeah, the weather. No, it was the weather. I mean, it was
Yeah,
really coming down. There was, like, 36 inches of snow. I mean, for you, Minnesota doesn't mean too much, but yeah,
yeah, yeah.
for us, it was a big storm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I vaguely remember. I don't know.
Yeah, it was worth it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the tour, the 1999 tour, you guys were playing behind the curtain for Van 86, and
Mhm.
there wasn't double time pay, right?
Not really, you know.
Yeah,
It was pretty meager wages back then, but
right. How difficult is it? You don't basically see the front people. Could you see through the curtain at all?
a little bit.
Mhm.
You couldn't see the crowd, as I remember, but you could see Vanity Six. You could see them moving because it was kind of a mesh curtain,
Okay.
and it was real dark backstage, so you couldn't see us really at all. I mean, you might see a silhouette or something, but yeah,
So so I'm sure you remember this snowstorm. The Jimmy and Terry were stuck for a couple inches of snow. They were in Atlanta, right? I think.
Atlanta, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We
So
had a couple days off, and they were there. You know, they was kind of hush us. We're staying behind. We're going to work on SOS for a couple days. I think there was two days off or something.
mhm.
Yeah, and then it was like an inch of snow hits, and they don't have snow plowers, maybe 2 inches. You know, they just don't have any means to deal with snow in Atlanta, and because they don't get it much. And yeah, we were in San Antonio, and it's like, "Where's Terry, Jimmy?" It's like, uh,
And there weren't cell phones back then.
no, there was no cell phones.
Yeah.
I don't know. I suppose they got hold of them somehow, but
Right.
they at some point they knew where they were at, and they were doing their best to get on a flight. It just didn't happen. There were just no flights out. They just So we had to completely wing that show. And
So yeah, I've heard different versions of it, but who was Prince was playing keys or the bass?
Prince was off to the side. I mean, it got to like the 0 hour, and we're going, okay, they're not here because there was hope that maybe they could show up an hour before the show or something, and
Mhm.
weren't there. And so it's like, okay, Prince says, "Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna play bass." And then he stood off to the side and uh, on the right side,
Right.
looking out, and Lisa was playing keyboards off to the right. And
Oh,
Jerome
okay.
went and stood where Terry was standing, playing percussion and doing what he does,
Right.
and we were just kind of winging it,
Wow.
and Lisa was playing what she could remember. She was doing great, but, she had been playing the Prince show, and,
Yeah.
so she did what she could. But Prince was just doing what he does. And, we made it. And, what's funny
Yeah.
about that, I always thought it was interesting because there was a review in the paper the next day, and you know how the reviews are, the headline is, it's all about the headline, then there's might be a little paragraph about the opening act. And so
Mhm.
there was our little paragraph, and it was like a pretty favorable review. And I thought, I wonder, did he even see the show? Was he even here?
Yeah, you never
Sometimes
know.
it just, I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm like, how could we did the best we could, but it wasn't great. But
There was I forget which band, but like a guy from a rock group told me one time there was a guy who wrote for the New York Times. He was the concert reviewer, music critic, and he said one time he came to review their show and he sat in a chair with the newspaper open the whole show just reading the paper, and the next day gave a review of the concert.
ah, that was
Yeah.
my thought. I wonder if that one of those kind of deals.
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
But it's interesting because my uncle at the time lived in San Antonio, and my parents were down there visiting, and we just happened to play. So my parents and my uncle and his wife were at that show, which was
Oh,
kind
wow.
of funny,
Yeah.
of all shows, right?
Were they getting into the music?
Yeah, my
Right.
folks are always incredibly uh, supportive of everything I've done. It's been amazing. They show up at the shows when we played in town all the time, and they're the last one I remember. They were before my dad died. It was We played at the Minnesota Zoo, and uh, they had their
Mhm.
time hats on, and
Oh,
people were,
wow. Yeah,
they were in their well into their 80s, and
right.
they just would just come out and hang, and
Yeah.
it was just
Open minds, yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
they just they liked everybody in the group, and
Right, right.
but they get some looks from the crowd. And my dad would get to talking, and
Right. Yeah, my mom, we did some when I used to do the mobile DJ, for years and ended right before the pandemic. We did some gigs together. I basically was the engineer for her and her husband. They were polka gigs. And my mom told me on the side, she goes, "Well, I think we respect each other's taste in music." I mean, she loved Purple Rain, the song, singing that and everything. But
Yeah,
it's like, okay, you respect what I like and I respect what you like. And, that's cool. Open minds.
yeah, yeah. Well, they were just there to support their kid, that was
Yeah, that's
the
right.
thing. But
Hey, let me ask you a keyboard question about you and Jimmy. I don't know if I've ever asked you. Did you guys have a different specialty in your playing that you guys noticed right away, or did you who divvied up the different parts with the group?
well, I'll say this: Jam is one of the best bass synth players around. I mean, he's up there with anybody. Um, so it was a no-brainer. He was going to do that.
Okay.
I mean, he's just incredible. And I tended to play more piano stuff, more.
Okay.
I had a little bit of classical, a little bit of jazz training, and uh, so I was more of a piano type guy. So I kind of did
Mhm.
that role, and then the rest of the stuff we split up just or we double up on things. Jimmy tended to do string lines in the bass part. I tended to do there was piano or pads and horn hits and lines or whatever. And like I say, some things we double. If we had an open hand and there was a horn hit, we were both doing it
Right.
just anything to make the sound. And this is before they had MIDI, which is a, uh, key guys know what this is, but where you could take one keyboard and plug it into another keyboard and double up on sounds, so you could play a bunch of sounds by just hitting the same. You could hit one note, and it might be a whole bunch of sounds playing. Where it's, back when we were doing it, it was one keyboard, one sound.
Okay.
So it was harder to get a bigger sound. So it was the more hands on deck to hit some notes, the better.
So you generally with the time played, was it 3 keyboards each gig?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Jimmy had two. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe he had three in the beginning.
Of Prince, you, Jimmy Jam, and some of the keyboardists in later years that you work with, who was really into the up to date technology? Did anybody stand out?
Uh, Jimmy's not a huge tech guy. I think Matt Fink's a pretty good tech guy.
Okay.
Prince
Yeah.
was not a tech guy. He was just if it sounded right, that was it. He wasn't going to go in and program a bunch of sounds. And
Right.
Jam and I could program sounds like back then. You had the OB8s, and all the controls were right in front of you, so you could just turn a knob and program sounds that way. And we did okay with that. I'm not highly technical either necessarily, but
Right. And,
uh,
and Morris, he loves breaking it down in the slow song when give me something a little sexy, right? He always
oh
wanted
yeah,
something from you. Yeah.
Gigolo, we do little things with that
Yeah.
piano
You
thing.
you did a lot of improvisation with that?
Yeah, we just kind
Yeah.
of, we had different versions of it where for a while a girl would come on and have dinner with him, and I don't,
Right.
it morphed over the years. And if there ever was a breakdown, yeah, I just play something, some mood music, I guess you might call it.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, speaking of Prince with his keyboards, and he would always, it looked like a piano, but it was actually a keyboard built into the casing, right?
The I mean back like in the '80s, like
Yeah, and even in later
the
years, you
Yamaha CP80, I think.
okay,
And that he carried that around with him. It was like a mini grand piano, but it was an electronic
okay,
thing, like the stuff you hear on "How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore" and
right,
all that
right,
stuff. That's that CP 80 grand Yamaha grand, but it's like an electric version, but it's got really sensitive keys. And yeah, he'd haul that around. That was in a ton of records,
oh,
ton of
okay.
stuff. Yeah.
Was that would he use that just to have more options and less chance for things to? sound off, like in tune?
Yeah, I think he just liked the sound of it too. It was, it was, it wasn't a grand piano. I think maybe it was too clean and it was too hard to be run the nose around. At least back in the '80s. I don't. He may have done more of that. I don't know what he did after that so much, but
Right.
yeah, I mean that was on all records. You hear all kinds of records in the '80s, '90s, even I suppose. That sound.
Yeah. So progressing towards the Purple Rain days, which you, Terry, Jimmy, uh, had said sayonara into your own production. And how did you decide to do something like that?
Well, things had gotten a little more difficult towards the end of the second tour, and just internally, and the whole camp was just things were not going real smooth. Let's just say there was a lot of division, and some of it was purposeful, and it just wasn't getting to be fun anymore. And I think we all thought we were going to have a little more involvement than we had at that time. And
Mhm.
Harry and Jimmy ended up getting fired over that the Atlanta gig they missed. And I finished out the tour, and I don't know if the tour was done in March or April. And tour was over, they got fired. And I just it just wasn't as much fun for me. I think I went to one Purple Rain rehearsal, and my
Okay.
heart wasn't in it anymore, and I just thought this. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I just don't want to do this
Right.
anymore.
I get it. It was the ballet lessons you guys had to do, right? You said enough.
Yeah, right.
At least that's what I read.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. It was a no. I think it was an acting class
Oh, okay.
I went
Right.
to, but I mean, I
Yeah.
was out the
It could have
door.
been anything, right? Yeah.
Could have been anything. Yeah, I just couldn't see myself being there at that time anymore.
Right. And the band disbanded anyways, even after being on the screen. Yeah.
Yeah,
At that
I mean,
time, yeah.
yeah, we had to put a band together for the screen, basically.
Right. So moving along to the great production and we'll revisit some of the getting back with the time and all the things going on there. You work with Flight Time, Jimmy and Terry, and tell us about their studios in Minneapolis before they moved out west. What was that like?
Um, well, when I first started working with him, we were in LA doing stuff, fly out,
Oh, okay. All right.
do they had gone out and just stayed out there, and they were trying to find some work, and they got some work with a band called Reel to Reel.
Mhm.
Did a song called High Hopes. I don't know if that's the first song they did. Uh,
I think
Climax.
Jimmy always says Sounds of Blackness, or maybe that was the first big hit, Optimistic.
Oh yeah, that was down the road later, but
Okay.
this is back in '80. What was it? '83, '84, right
Oh,
after
okay.
the summer after they got kicked out of the band, and um, they flew me out to work on a couple things. I'd written a song with Terry, "When You're Far Away" with Gladys Knight, and
Mhm.
so they flew me out to record on that. And I had just been writing songs at home on a 4 track. I didn't know what I was doing. This before they asked me to do that. So anyway, there was a number of projects done out there, and then they ended up buying the place on Nicollet in Minneapolis,
Okay.
where they moved back eventually. But I guess before that, though, I'm skipping around here. We worked at a place called Creation Audio
Oh, right.
with Steve Weiss, and
Mhm.
did a ton of records out there. And when they had moved back here, they had done Change. We did the first Alexander O'Neill record. They did some SOS stuff there, just a bunch of stuff. And then at some point, they had things were going well enough that where they could buy their own building, their own studio, and then they moved to Nicollet Avenue in Minneapolis, and that's where the first Janet record was done. And that was the last project I had done with them, and I think Sherelle, but they were doing a ton of stuff. So
Yeah, of course, the big hit. There were so many hits off that album, Control. One of them, right there, our guy on the screen, Monte Moir, producing, writing, pleasure to fruition as far as writing that song. And did you intend it for Janet?
Yeah, Terry said, he said, looks like we might be doing Janet Jackson in the next few months or something. You have something. So yeah, that was written with her in mind. It was, I think, the first thing I thought of was Michael, and I just thought something high energy, just something, you just kind of
Right.
get a glimpse of something. And I started there, and I had enough, time to do a couple tracks, and then we just used the one. But yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I wrote it and just did a demo and brought it in, and Janet came. I don't know if she had just flown in or what, but we had. I remember giving it to her the song, and we just 4-track demo, and I was singing the reference guide, and
Hmm.
um, or no, it would have been the whole track, I guess, because I never had it done there. But I sang a reference over it. She came in Saturday. I think they gave it to her Friday. She came in Saturday, sang it, just nailed it. Sunday we did a few ad libs and finished up a few things, and I mean she incredible. Just came
Yeah.
in and knocked it out.
Yeah. Those were special times and great video, of course. And have you ever thought about doing an album of all the great hits and songs that you've done for other artists? Are there versions in the vault that you have behind you?
I have not, but I suppose that's I don't know how that would look. I mean, like
Hey,
me doing it, maybe. I don't know. I
or
suppose.
releasing the demo tracks.
Yeah, I don't think I have most of those because they're on
Oh,
little
okay.
4-track, and you gotta
Right.
get on a 4-track and then a cassette somewhere, and that was maybe.
What was a 4-track like? Because I worked in radio since '82, and I remember reel to reel, and we were getting the razor blade and splitting things to piece together stuff. What was a 4-track? Because I'm not a musician. What was that?
4-track was if you had a cassette player, that would be considered a 2-track because there's a left
Okay.
side and a right side,
Hmm.
in the speakers. And the 4-track had 4 different tracks, so you could record a guitar on one track, a vocal on another track, the drums on another track. But then if you wanted to record more stuff, you would have to bounce those 3 tracks down to the last track. So then you'd have 3 more tracks opened up again. And you could keep doing that and doing that, but then the quality gets worse and worse. But at least you could get some ideas down.
Right. Comes in handy.
Yeah, but you
Came in
go back
handy. Yeah.
back to the '60s, and some of that early Beatles stuff was recorded on 8-track. I think that was 8 tracks. I mean, we had 4 tracks, but some of that stuff. I think the Taxman, some of that stuff was just 8 tracks. These old little,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember some of the Beatle records. You can fade out one side, and it would just be the music, and the vocals were completely taken out. I forget what songs, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. The early stuff. There could be
Right.
drums and everything in one track, the vocal in the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's early days.
So you've written and produced for so many greats. Did you the people who have recorded your songs and you've got hit records, which we see on the back on the wall, some of them. Um, did you search out these artists, or were they looking for you, or was it through Jimmy and Terry?
A lot of the early ones with Jimmy and Terry, they just had a lot of projects, and
Mhm.
um, at that point, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have been doing a Janet Jackson if I hadn't been working with those guys because they had gotten to a level where they were getting those kind of people to call them, and
Right.
um, so it was, a lot of it was just projects that were on the table and ready to go. And after I left them, I just usually get phone calls and just somebody inquiring to want to work, Denise Williams or the juniors or people like that, and
Right.
uh, the Kurt Joneses, the Dejas, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Your
know,
buddy, he's going out on tour with Cece, I think, going to
yeah,
Europe.
I think they're going to France, and
Yeah.
February or something. They got to get,
Right.
yeah. It's been so nice about some of these projects. It's, I met Kurt and I felt like we'd known each other our whole lives, and we've been
Right.
become lifelong, like real close friends. So it's been it's been an awesome ride.
And you're on their records.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm lucky, lucky enough to be able to get to do this, and somebody likes it sometimes, and I'm still trying to do it. So,
So you and Kurt first met and became friends. How did that originate?
I was in '86, I believe, and they had inquired to my management about me producing a couple songs,
Hmm.
and I said sure, and they came out to Minneapolis, and we did a couple songs. Maybe we did three, maybe it was three songs. And Kurt called the label and just said, I'd like to do a whole record with this guy. And so we did almost the whole record. A
Okay.
couple songs were You and I Tonight. I can't remember who produced that, but that became a big hit for them. That was on that record. But I think we did most of the rest. Ourselves,
You have some other stuff that with Kurt you guys haven't released yet?
It might be a few things from way back when
Okay.
that I don't know if ever got totally developed or not, but we kick around the idea of doing something here and
Yeah.
there.
He's still out in Texas, right?
Yeah,
Last time we
Texas.
talked.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're good buds.
Right. So getting back to project currently that you just released,
Yeah,
outstanding Christmas song. It's Christmas around here. Christmas time around here.
yeah.
Yeah.
All here, for it's Christmas time, we're doing fine. Thankful for this time of year. In our own true way, we celebrate Christmas.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
yeah, when did you record that? And kudos to you if I love it, G loves it, and a lot of people love it. What what got you into doing a Christmas song?
Well, thanks. I don't know. I just as I go, sometimes I just start writing stuff, and I thought I think I started it a couple years ago, and I thought, well, let's go with this. This,
Right?
and I and it just as I did it more, it it just felt like kind of a tip of the hat to my childhood.
Hmm.
I grew up in the '60s, and as a kid in the '60s and '70s, and it just kind of started to remind me of stuff I grew up with. I mean, all those old school, the Dean Martins, the Gene Autry's, the Burl Ives. I mean, all that
Right.
old traditional stuff. So it's got
And a Nat King Cole reference.
and a Nat King Cole, right? And that him as
Right.
well. Yeah, and so I just kind of ran with it, and I said, oh, okay, then I think I played it for my wife or somebody. I said, you ought to put that out, and so I finally did, and I thought, well, it's a huge departure for me, but then again, there's a lot of things there's a lot of different genres I like and I grew up with, and I think at this point I'm just trying to write a decent song, and I don't care what genre it is if it happens to float somewhere else.
Right.
So
Do you
it was
have
fun to do.
no,
My
go
my good
ahead. I cut you off.
Oh, that's okay. My good buddy Billy Peterson played upright bass on it, and
Right.
if you don't know who he is, he played with Steve Miller for 20 some years. He played on Blood on the Tracks, Bob Dylan's record, the Minneapolis sessions.
Right.
Unbelievable bebop, upright jazz. I mean, we're great friends,
Right.
and Jana Anderson and Billy's granddaughter Olivia Russa sang some backgrounds as well. And I had a couple kids come in as well, and it was a group effort. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, your vocals are great on there. And who engineered that project? Because I mean, it sounds really, really good.
Bob Brockman mixed it actually.
Okay.
An old buddy of mine from the '80s. I recorded it myself. I mean the actual recording, but Bob Brockman's the guy who brought it to life, you might say.
Hmm.
He's mixed records. Oh, he's won I think 3 Grammys. He's nominated for an Academy Award. You gotta look him up. I think he's worked with Bob Dylan to a lot of hip hop artists. To I can't think of all the names, but if you looked
Right.
him up, you'd find a endless list of names, and just a fantastic guy. He's out in New York.
Have you ever run into Bob Dylan in Minnesota?
Never.
Never. Okay.
No, I don't think he's here. I think he has a farm out near Buffalo, Minnesota, which is uh, maybe an hour outside of the city.
Okay.
And I hear he comes occasionally, but nobody knows when he comes or goes. But
Right. How about for our viewers and listeners? Is it available for purchase?
yeah,
Christmas song? Yeah.
it's on all the streaming services. It's on iTunes, Apple, all the normal spots you'd find things on.
Right.
Yeah.
When I'm up here walking high above the ground upon the wire, there is nothing down below here to keep me from the fire. It's all or nothing for want and desire.
So the follow up to This Side of Paradise. Any plans for the near future for another
Yeah, I'm
solo
working
CD?
on some stuff. Yeah. I'm hoping next year. I mean, I've just been picking away at a few things, and I guess I have plenty of songs, but just trying to get songs that mean something to me or feel right together,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm working on some stuff. Started this, it's kind of a smooth jazz song, I guess.
Hmm.
Got a country song. I
You were
don't
doing
know.
some blues stuff too, right?
Yeah. I mean, a friend of mine, Dan Shenander, he's still working on it. It's a blues movie called Harp,
Okay.
and it's about 3 old bluesmen who get displaced after a hurricane, and they end up moving to Minnesota, and they end up mentoring this kid, teaching him about life in the blues and how it's very musical. There's a lot of music in it. We co-wrote 8 songs or so.
Hmm.
I think we're going to do another one. And then but it's everything's kind of there, but it's tough with these indie movies because it's tough to get financing. That's
Yeah.
the big thing. He's made a movie before called Hiding Victoria, a feature, and if you want to check it out, it's on Hulu. But it's I thought making records were hard. Just as far as the whole
It's not
deal.
as hard, right?
Movies, it's just the amount of moving parts are it's just incredible.
Yeah. They struggling actors, struggling directors.
And the
Yeah.
number of people you need to be involved, and just the financing you need even just to make a lower budget movie is just. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping he can get that going because it's a great script, and so we'll see. So I'm got my hands in whatever feels good for me to do, and that feels good for me now.
So Lagoon Records still thriving with the new projects in production. What do you got behind on the wall? You've got some records.
Uh,
What do you have?
Here,
Yeah.
that's a second time record, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah. I know when I have musicians on who have the gold records and the albums up there, they've accomplished some stuff.
yeah, they're all over the room, but I
Yeah.
I
We had
figured
Chris Jasper on, and usually he would come to the studio when I was at WVOF. But now that I'm no longer there, we did a remote like this, and yeah, he had the similar setup like you. I'm like, yeah, these are the guys who had some big hits.
yeah, he's done incredibly well.
Right, right.
Yeah, there's a bunch around here. I figured I'd. This is, yeah, they're there.
Right. Yeah. Now, since Jimmy Jam, when he left the group, you stayed along and you had different keyboardists come in, and over the years, bringing in a new keyboardist was it a big task for you to acclimate them to how things are done? Did you?
Not too bad, really. I mean,
Mhm.
we'd get them tapes of the show, and pretty much everybody who's come through has known the band pretty well and probably was really familiar with the stuff, and they really wanted to be there, and so they had a
Right.
pretty good idea what was going on. But everybody has their own style of kind of how they or their own interpretation of it. So
Mhm.
um, it was more of here's kind of how we did it,
Right.
where it wasn't just so it had more of the Minneapolis sound vibe to get in some of the better sounds and or at least the sounds we use and just the way it was played a little more. So, but it's a little tougher when it's back in the day it was we lived and ate that stuff, and it was
Yeah.
early 20s, and that's all we did. That's all we did. So it's just it's hard to recapture those times, because it's the
Yeah.
intensity of what was going on back then was,
I
now
know.
everybody's got lives and families, and
Right.
you
Yeah,
know,
I knew things were different when we went to see you in one of the casinos in Connecticut, and it was like hanging out with you guys backstage after the show, and then Morris got up and said, "Okay, guys, I'll see you next weekend." He flew out wherever we was flying out the same night
oh yeah,
to
yeah,
get back home. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So it's just a different time, a different world,
But
But
but you did a bus tour, as in later years. I saw you at Tramps in New York. You guys were doing a bus tour, right?
yeah, we did that
Yeah.
for a number of years. Tramps
Mhm.
was God, I love Tramps.
Yeah, that was great. I don't know what happened there, but
Yeah, it's too bad
yeah,
that closed down, but I love playing those places like that.
right.
That's awesome.
I don't know if I've ever told you, I saw Sheila E. there. Eric Leeds was in the band, and we happened to be up front. And Sheila E.'s show is up tempo and everybody's into it and everything. But there were tables behind. People were sitting and they were shouting through the whole song, like, "Sit down, get down." We didn't even have any seats. We actually had to sit on the floor like kindergarten kids for the whole show
Oh man, that's
at
great.
Tramps. Yeah, that
Uh,
was
you're,
something.
you're in New York,
Yeah, that's right.
They let you know
Whatever.
what they want, right?
Yeah,
BB
exactly.
King's was fun. I love playing there.
Oh
You
yeah,
played a few shows.
yeah, we've seen you there, and you guys usually would do 2 shows that night, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I always like playing there as well. Well, New
I've
York was just fun in general.
Yeah, that was, I mean, you see, oh, you guys have all celebs who are fans coming by. How about celebrities who have come backstage and talked to you guys? Who were you really pumped up about? Like, wow, we were hanging with this person.
Uh, Magic Johnson used to come to some of the early shows when we started back up in LA,
Okay.
and that was fun. Just a nice dude. Just what you see is what you get with him. Just
Right, right.
legend like that. Shaq's come to a couple shows. A long time back. Chris Rock's come to a couple shows. I mean, there's probably a million guys I'm not thinking about, but that's off the top of my head. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
think of more. Well, especially
And
in New York or LA,
right, right.
because that's where they're living, so that you'd see a lot of people would come out.
Do you Would you, off the top of your head, or did Prince ever say that one of the time songs he wished he kept for himself?
Uh, he might have. I don't know, but I know he liked to play cool a lot in his set.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
would play that a lot throughout the years. He'd pull that out every now and then.
Right.
Um, I guess that was a favorite of his. Of his.
Yeah, you could tell through his set list the songs that really, like "Let's Work." He did it up to like into the 5 years before he passed away.
Yeah, yeah,
Certain songs, you know, he really dug these songs.
yeah. Well, they're fun songs. You
Yeah.
know, he was a great writer.
2004, the musicology tour. I didn't see the time open up, but how many dates did you do that with Prince?
I think we did 13, if I'm not 12 or 13. And
Wow.
it was typical Prince. It's like I get a call Tuesday night, like 11 o'clock at night. Uh, whoever called me, what are you doing Thursday? I was like, I don't know. Well, Prince wants us to play, so your flight will be there tomorrow, and blah blah blah. Off we're running. Just
Yeah.
it was last minute. I think it was Atlanta. And those were fun because we were always unannounced, so the
Mhm.
lights would go down, and all of a sudden the lights would come up, and there we are, and people are like, "Huh?" But everybody loved it. It was fun, and I remember that it was a stage, in the round stage, and they would
Right.
cart Prince out from the underneath in a little
Mhm.
like a
Like a
road.
road case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They stuck him in there.
Right.
You see him getting wheeled out. I think after a while people were catching on, but
The
first,
Jelly Bean didn't make his entrance like that, right?
yeah, I
Sorry,
don't think
Jelly Bean. We love you.
paid him $1,000. I don't think he would have made it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jelly Bean's like 6'6" or something like that. Yep.
Oh yeah, he's a big
Yeah.
guy. Yeah,
So, I know Morris seems to be like the Michael Jordan of entertainers, saying, "This is it. This is my last tour. This is it." And do you, as yourself with the time, is it always a member of the time you could see yourself one day maybe getting together for performances?
going back, you mean?
Yeah, one off or
I'd never say never.
right.
I feel like I don't feel a big longing to do that or anything, but I've just learned in life it's better to say never say never. I mean, it
Yeah,
could be something with the originals, could be that, or it could be something else. I don't know.
yeah,
I just I'm not opposed to anything really. I guess if it was the right opportunity, it felt like a good thing to do.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. We I didn't bring up Condensate, which was a great record, and the song you wrote one particular song on there as well, right?
yeah. Me and Terry co-wrote a song. Yeah,
Right. Was that a big disappointment that things started out well and then just kind of
yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean, it
yeah,
was because it was. I think everybody was hoping for more, but I think in honesty, some of the internal dynamics were rearing its head again, and I think that was part of the problem. And it's got to be good inside and out, for things to
yeah,
really work. I think, and then it just kind of faded away, and that was it.
right. Can they use the name The Time anymore, or is it still off the table?
No, I think it's still. I think it'd probably have to go through the estate. I would imagine.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Morris can use Morris Day in the Time. That seems to have been
Right,
established. So, at least
right.
for live stuff. Yeah, I
Mhm.
think anything would have to go through the estate.
Have you been out to Paisley
Or
Park often since Prince passed?
have I? No, I haven't actually. I don't. Gone a few times when we played there. I mean, we
Right.
we played there. He invited us out. Oh, it was a few months before he died. Morris
Oh
told
yeah.
us to
Tell
go.
us about that. You guys, there was talk that he may do something in Europe with The Time, right?
Yeah, his talk that he wanted maybe do another time record. With him at the helm. Basically that
Oh,
would have
okay.
been really cool.
Right.
Uh, he was. He also mentioned that he wanted us to go tour Europe, and he was going to manage us, whatever that looked
Yeah.
like.
Right.
He said you guys should headline Europe and let's get going and whatever, and um, but we played out there, and we had a guitar and an amp ready for him, and he chose not to come up and play, but it's his house, he can do whatever he wants,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just I guess it was him saying he might come up and play, so they set up an amp for him, you know.
Right.
But I could see him out. He seemed like he was having fun. He was watching the show, and you know, it's. But that was the last time anybody really saw him.
Yeah, it's the last time, and
Yeah.
still a huge void, and I'm sure in your world and
Oh yeah,
the
yeah. You know,
Minnesota crowd. Yeah.
he changed the, he changed the course of my life, really, career trajectory. You know, and it's who knows
Right.
about everybody in the Times life. He changed our trajectory, and who knows where we might have ended up if the time hadn't started. Who knows?
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
maybe still doing things, but just in a different way, or not. I don't know. You just don't know. But I think all of us are eternally grateful to him showing up
Right.
and let's go. So,
Yeah. Monumental achievements by all of you as a group.
but it is quiet in Minnesota. Like there always used to be whenever he'd have a record out, or he'd have all those. And they still have events out there sometimes, but it's just not the same without him. And it's the
Yeah.
museum now.
Yeah. Right.
But there would always be the rumblings around town, and he's getting ready to do something, and or show up at First Avenue or whatever he's going to do, and
Yeah.
I think everybody misses that around here.
Yeah. There was always that something to look forward to, a tour, a record, a new
Yeah,
band members and stuff. Yeah. But
some crazy announcement about something, and
right.
yeah,
Right.
he was just that guy who could create
Yeah.
that kind of excitement.
So, hey, Monty, I got to thank you, my brother, for stopping by.
No problem.
Musicians
Anytime.
Reveal. Yeah, it's always great talking with you, and look forward to more stuff coming out. Whoever you collaborate with or make another great song, like it's Christmas time round here, available now on all streaming outlets, video on YouTube as well.
Well, thanks so much, Joe, for having me on and always supporting independent music and any music
Yeah,
it's really huge. You've done a great service to the music community over the years, and you should be proud of everything you've done too, because you've brought a spotlight on a lot of folks, and it's many thanks.
yeah. Thanks, I appreciate it. So
Sir,
happy holidays to you, your wife, and your family, and
you as well, to your family
yeah,
as well, Joe,
yeah,
and we'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
yeah. Monte Moir, montemoir.net, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Go there, check him out. World-class musician and producer. Huge part of the Minneapolis music scene. Still is. Thanks, Monty.
Thanks, Joe.
We're all here for it's Christmas time. We're doing fine. Thankful for this time of year in our own true way.